Hello, and welcome to the deambulatory of His Holiness. What is a deambulatory? Well, this, I guess works. It's apparently, it's a place that is covered and for walking. Specifically, a church or within a church or surrounding a choir. So not, deambulatory of His Holiness. Not something, not a word I use in everyday conversation, but this game has been rather educational on a lot of these things. Alright, so before we continue, I do want to go back here. So we're going to do this deambulatory, but I want to return here with the third mark. Let's see what we can get for it. In dreams, hear him speak to me even though his words have no sound. In dreams, I can see him watch me even though his eyes are made of silver. Okay, I was wondering if that was going to be like a hint for the boss that I just beat. Maybe it would have been helpful. I mean, I guess we're just going down all the way. No pop-up. Interesting. Yeah, and this time it's not available. But I'm somewhat invested in the story of the Lady of Suffering here. So let's just deal with this before going back to the deambulatory. And she was just, down and to the right. Make an offering. Mark of the third refuge, yes. And the miracle has claimed her.
The lady. 3 penitents that communed with the miracle clamored for her refuge and protection. Those souls for which she suffered have already departed to the other side of the dream. Has the holy commandment of my lady finished? Penitent one, whom shall I watch over now? The lady. 3 penitents that commune. Those souls has the holy command. Penitent one.
Oh, we might have done a good thing. Is he still here? No, he's left. Okay. Well, I set a flag in the code somewhere, probably. I guess we'll be seeing him around. Maybe if I go back to Albero, he'll be there. Oh, whoops, too early. And too early again. We're not gonna heal here because these enemies will come back if I do. And maybe we'll find a nice convenient teleporter in this final zone. That would be nice. And I say final zone because I did get that spoilerific achievement last time saying that I've explored the regions of Custodia. Is that the name of this place? So I guess that at the very least means that I've set foot in every non-DLC region. Now, the game does have DLC. I don't know what what is and what isn't DLC. I assume I have it all because it wasn't purchased separately. It was just included with the game. So I'm probably running it, but I don't know what it is. Right. And we can... Consecrated Amethyst. I mean, we might as well put back on the Uvula Proclamation so that we can... get a few tiers when we smash things, although our money seems to be doing decently well. I mean, I guess we could return a bunch of bones as well. That's a thing we could do. Okay, maybe the entire zone is the deambulatory and this is the actual covered part here. Oh. Snow or ash or something?
In my dreams, I heard your footsteps coming closer. In my dreams, I tried to talk to you and introduce myself. Guardian of the miracle and of the miracle banner, with great pain, I carry the emblem of the Father. I am the hands of bloodied skin. I am the eyes from which our mother gazes. But nothing I know of you, apart from your cold, nameless visage, apart from your calloused and wounded hands, apart from the mourning of your deaths. No, I know nothing of you. Only the miracle knows.
What is the origin of our character anyway? I know we're a penitent.
Now may your sword full of guilt with mine of gold collide.
I feel like...
hurt and march in procession. I curse you forever in
I feel like a golden sword wouldn't actually be that effective.
I bless you forever in death.
Okay, back-to-back boss fights. His Holiness is Scriber. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Is this just a joke or a multi-stage affair? He hits pretty hard. Okay. I needed to pay more attention to dodging and less attention to... well, whatever it was that I was paying attention to. I'm not entirely sure what that was. But that's, yeah, kind of weird. Also, I guess we'll just equip this. I mean, if all the endgame enemies do magic, then... endgame bosses. It makes sense just to have the amethyst equipped. We'll leave the guild there. Again, I didn't try parrying at all. I feel like a lot of its stuff... okay, something hit me there. What the heck? Okay, I shouldn't have healed, I should have attacked. What? My character just disappeared. Okay, that was weird.
You have shattered the mirror in which you saw me asleep. Now you see me awoken as the son of the true miracle.
Okay, something's happening, and I didn't get my guilt, so I have guilt coming in to whatever's going on here. Last son of the miracle. Okay, so this is the actual fight. Ah, what? Okay. I assume I want to kill the sword. Ah, too close. Okay, and there's his face. Which lets me hit him. Okay. Ah, hard fall. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't seem too hard if that is in fact the last stage. I don't know that it is. Do we have to do that first stage again? Because I might have to take it a little bit more seriously if the damage from that carries over.
In my God, I am not part.
Feel like it is, okay. So we want to grab this before killing him.
Now may let the I.
Oh, I can do a little bit of damage to him that way. Oh. Okay, that went pretty well.
You have now used.
And we have another. Oh, okay. Okay, that did like no damage. Stop going off screen. Ah. Oh, I don't have enough energy for that. I'm trying to... Oh. I was trying to cast the spell. What am I doing? Hello? Okay. That one's a little bit hard to dodge. Bad timing. Okay, we'll just do it this way then. Okay, can't... Oh. There's a lot of damage. Didn't quite dodge that. Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure what I was supposed to do about some of those patterns. As with anything, I'm sure it'll get easier. Tried slashing the fireballs, and that didn't work. Guess I could dodge, try to dash through them. I do have other moves I can be trying too, like combat moves and stuff. But I don't think the dash or the what is it, plunge? What they call the fall thing. I don't think either of those are going to help against the final guy. I think I'm just best off hovering in place like I've been trying to do. Nope, you can't. You're not immune to that. Am I protected in here? Oh, this is terrible. That was not good. Oh, and did I die at the end there?
You have now.
No, but I got a funny glitch or whatever. Yeah, this is terrible. It's very random which attacks he does, I guess. That fireball attack, I'm not sure how to dodge. You know, what would be nice would be another vessel. And I got knocked into it at a terrible time. Okay, come on. Why am I so bad at this? Ah. Okay, that was about as bad as it could have gone. Worst run yet, in a number of ways. Like, the first stage was pretty terrible, too. That was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Hmm. I guess this we can take off. This was fire protection, I believe. No, it was lightning. Is this fire? Don't know if that's going to make any difference at all. His lightning attacks should be pretty easy to dodge. I'm not sure what stuff qualifies as magic. And then the other two that I'm running are both physical defense, which maybe I don't want. It might not actually do anything here.
In my God, I am upon no. Now may I
Okay, I can't dodge that. Oh, how did that miss? So you just have to jump for those attacks. That's good to know. Okay, I wanted to dodge. Obviously. I'm not sure how that missed me. Okay, really? Seem to be able to lure it to the center. You just not going to attack for a bit? Should have seen that coming. Oh. Should. No! This... How do you dodge that? What was that metal clanking sound? Okay, that one move. I need to know how to dodge that. Because that does a ton of damage and I just can't seem to get out of it. As long as I consistently dodge every other move, I will win this fight. At least this stage of the fight. If there's another one, I don't know. But this one move feels like there should be something I should be able to do about it.
In my dream, God, I am not part known. Now may I.
What the heck? Oh, that's not great. There must be another flask in the game somewhere, right? I mean, there's stuff I haven't explored yet, so I don't have to do this right now. Okay, that was some good damage. Ah. So far, this is going pretty well. I mean, I didn't do that much damage, but... Oh, really? I think I have iframes while I'm doing that attack. Okay. Which, if I do... Oh my god. Okay, I think jumping on those platforms makes the angles for the fireballs slightly easier to dodge.
In my dream, God, I am a part. No. Now I.
Okay, if we hit him... Okay, that's... This is... That was just 5 hits in a row I couldn't do anything about. Yep. Yep, that's, try not to heal on this first stage. I guess we're ideally situated now with guild in both stages of the fight.
Now I.
Okay, that wasn't bad.
You have now.
That might be the best I've done on that first stage in terms of resources coming out of it. Because of... I didn't dodge everything, but I did manage to get the heal from the guild. Ah, that was... Oh no. And then that's... I get knocked into the second one, so that's guaranteed 2 hits. Maybe these platforms are the key to dodging a lot of these attacks. Oh, what a time to fall. And multi-hit out of that. I was trying to do damage and not heal. I probably should have tried to heal, but... Because now I have a much worse prospect going into this run, because I'm not going to have Fervor coming into it. Increasing speed of attacks. Barrier Divine Lightning that damages any enemies trying to cross it. An incorporeal shield damages enemies and destroys some projectiles. Okay, we'll go back to this.
In my dream, God, I am not.
I think defense is better than offense. Well, in the first stage, offense is better than defense. But... because of this. Okay. No? Okay, not bad.
You have now.
Yeah, and leading the fire to one end like that did seem to work for the first stage, but the problem is on the second stage he has fire from both ends of the screen at once. So now we have a protective spell that'll hopefully destroy fireballs. And we're not going to use it. Okay, that just keeps going. Okay. Okay, don't cast your spell because... lightning always goes one side of the screen to the other. Okay. Platform. Okay, don't be too greedy on the attacks. Well, like with most fights in this game, I think it's just a matter of learning it. But he hasn't done the fire yet. Right, you want to stand in the center on that one. Oh, I died. Okay, that's unfortunate. I feel like that was going really well. Okay, so I can recognize the fire crest thing before he does it, because his little holy symbols has the element associated with it. So I think this is starting to come together. Yeah, I had a ton of healing there I could have used too. I was just... You take a whole bunch of damage all at once, and you start taking damage, and then you get stunned, and you hit, you know, staggered or whatever, and you take a bunch more damage. So maybe I should be healing preemptively a little bit earlier than that. Okay, that was a bad angle. What? You weren't even on the screen. Okay, not great. But I guess we just grab the guilt right at the start, and that'll give us a heal. In a way, it's thematically appropriate that repenting for your sins, or whatever you want to call it, actually makes things easier. It's like death and suffering is actually a viable strategy. Get you back into the center of the screen, please. Okay. That's pretty atrocious timing. Okay, let's just heal. That was not great. 10? No? Nice, I got a full combo. No. Okay, don't get hit by that. Oh! Okay, we will heal. Yeah, it's interesting that these green orbs never come down. That didn't get you? Okay, that was really bad. And I just took that hit because... Oh, we got like no damage on that cycle and more fire. Okay, that's actually pretty easy to dodge if I bait them. Which is good to know because I took a ton of damage. Oh, I got hit. I got stuck on a platform I wasn't expecting to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you do staggered movement on those, it seems to help. The spell isn't foolproof, but it also helps. I guess I'm just doing this fight for an hour. Well, it does feel final boss of the game-like. So I guess it's good that this is the hardest fight I've had so far.
Now may you
Not too far. Yeah, didn't hit him in time. And yep, and now I just take all the hits. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, just stand there. You must be like one hit away. Ah! I feel like I had to dodge. Well, we got one right, stand in the middle. Oh no, but not the bat. Okay, hit, knock us out of it. Oh, health. Shoot, I didn't realize I was that injured. Hmm. Yeah, it's still that fireball attack is the worst one by far. The lightning, it's just don't get hit. When you get hit, you kind of get stunned and get hit again. The dash out of it doesn't seem to be working. I'm
In
jumping
my
out of it.
charge, I am at
I don't
my
know, I could try parrying it, but I doubt that'll work.
now I
This is a terrible strategy. What am I doing?
you
That's alright. This thing's movement, it's like it's designed to never take multiple hits. Other purple. Okay, that was pretty good. That was not what I meant to do. I meant to drink a potion. And I'm kind of tanking a few hits. Oh no. Stage 3, let's go. Is there a stage 3? I kind of hope not. Defeat His Holiness Escribar. Summa Blasphemia. No, Summa Blasphemia. I am a blasphemer? Is that what that means? Summa? Is this Latin? Or is it Latin or is it Spanish? I'd assume it'd be Latin, actually. Okay, well, tanking fireball strats are kind of questionable, but that's what we did. And a well-deserved cutscene. Oh. Or what there was of it.
You have freed His Holiness from his afflicted torment. And now he walks by the old processions on the other side of the dream.
Okay.
The cradle of the grievous miracle, the final relic. The grail of blood and gold that emanated from the forehead of the Father as he silently lamented the moment of his blessed twisting.
Right, so he was the first victim of the miracle, if I remember from the Ferris tree where Deo Gracias, I remember this guy's name, Deo Gracias was telling us about that, was that he prayed for pain or something, like he wanted to suffer, and the miracle was granted. I'll have to look back on that, but I think that's what was going on. And so that was that guy, I guess.
That first relic is here, at the top of the Ashen Mountain, next to the turned throne where His Holiness was kissed by a miraculous pain. And now, your final communion with the miracle awaits.
All right.
Only you will be able to know how much of it has seeped into your guilty heart. Your communion with the first miracle awaits.
Okay, but what's your role in all of this, Deo Gracias? Oh, we cannot go fast here. I guess more time to admire those pillars. The Path of the Unworthy. Unlock ending B.
The mountain
Okay.
of ashes that swallowed up sins and sinners alike has had no mercy on you either. At the mercy of the miracle you were, and at the mercy of the miracle you remain. You are no longer anything but one more anonymous visage, without a voice, without countenance. Your penitence is over.
But then the next penitent one still has to deal with His Holiness' scriber, right? Okay, skip button for the credits. I appreciate that. I'm not going to, though. Definitely not finished with this game. There's a ton of stuff to do still, I'm sure. But initial thoughts on Blasphemous, this 15 hours in or whatever. I enjoyed this game tremendously. To the point where, like, it's not very often that I experience a new game. I'm the kind of person who tends to replay a lot of things. I mean, I guess that's not entirely true. I do, on the channel, I do some other stuff. But, like, I do occasionally try new things. But I mostly I will replay Drawd over and over. I've been playing Age of Wonders for over 2 decades, I think, at this point. Drawd for over a decade. So it's just one of those things where I'm perfectly content just to play the same games over and over. And relatively recently, I guess, I'd say with Hollow Knight, I started to really get into metroidvanias. I have like way too many hours in Hollow Knight as well, because I've done tons of randomizer games of that, randomizer runs of Hollow Knight. And in fact, that was one of the reasons I picked up Blasphemous, was I was looking for more Metroidvania games, and Archipelago has a randomizer for this game. So I don't know if I'll be doing that on the channel. I have an idea. I think I might actually do an Archipelago run on the channel at some point, where I kind of show off what Archipelago is and why it's so compelling. And in that case, I guess I'd be playing Blasphemous and Hollow Knight, and possibly some other games. I might just limit it to Metroidvanias. But I'd be playing multiple games, and I would do the multi-world randomizer, where I'd be getting Hollow Knight upgrades here, or in Hollow Knight, and then in Blasphemous I'd be getting upgrades for both games. And I have a few other ideas I might throw in there as well. Alright, so here's the cast. And I guess these were all voice acted. Did I meet all of these people? Mea Culpa Shrine has 4. I guess it's just like a chorus, or like a choir, sort of calling out in that one, huh? Spanish voice production. I have heard that the Spanish voice acting in this game is phenomenal. So if I do my archipelago run of this, I will probably switch the voices over to Spanish. I don't personally have any issue with listening to games in other languages. I play a ton of JRPGs, and I generally prefer the Japanese, like the original Japanese casting for that, wherever possible. And so, yeah, I imagine this game, you know, hearing it in Spanish would be really interesting as well. Okay, Deo Gracias. I'm guessing these are the Spanish voice actors now. But there's a bunch of mysteries in this game. I feel like we got to the end without double jump or without a jump height extender. And I was sure that we were going to get one of those two at some point. I'm also mildly curious to check. I don't think Miriam's voice actress was exactly the same, but I would be curious to check that. And yeah, there's another Miriam challenge or 2 to find. There are more quests and things to do as well. More bones to deliver to the ossuary, I suppose. Children of Midnight. We haven't rescued all of them. And then talked to the bull painting, I guess, to hand those in. Or whatever, to complete that quest. Was there other stuff? Shout out to the guys who did the fonts for this game. Those, like that Majestic Extended, I'm assuming is what it was a very nice font. Very readable, but also thematic. Alright, now publisher credits. Okay, but if I'm thinking about it, there is the Ferris tree. I had the impression that something was happening there. However, that was because I was seeing the cutscene of who I now know is the son of the first son of the miracle, and that boss I was assuming was actually a character at the Ferris tree that I'd be able to interact with. I still think I need to go back there because something might have happened when I got the third mask. But the main thing that happened when I got the third mask was just that I could take the elevator a third time. I really love the environments in this game, speaking of the elevator. I think that the variety in the scenery was really nice. The music was fantastic throughout the whole thing. I liked how ostentatious a lot of the elements of this game were. Like, you would have like the chariot with the horses that goes back to the Convent of Our Lady of the Charred Visage, for example. It's probably the biggest example I can think of. That was an absolutely ridiculous lift design, and I appreciate that they just over-designed it to that extent. Which, I mean, that is kind of in keeping with religious theming as well. A lot of the religious architecture is built to impress, and so being impressive is its function in a very real sense. There's also that boat in the Echoes of Salt, and what was the other half of that, like the bottom right part of the world called? I don't remember. Something about suffering, probably. But there was a boat there that was incredibly fancy, and it looked like you had like mermen pushing it based on the way the marble at the bottom of the boat was laid out. Okay, and we're fading out, which either means song 2 or the credits are coming to an end. Song 2, okay. Or I guess the other option is just that we're cycling the song, but we don't have a continuous loop for it, so we fade out and fade in. There is a Bloodstained 2 in development, I happen to know. Since I've started playing this and uploading it to the channel, YouTube did recommend to me a trailer from like 9 months ago, I think, of the second game. It looks like it's going to be much the same as this one, which is good, because this game is good. An interesting thing about this game, there's actually a couple of scenes, a couple of characters. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to censor stuff for YouTube or not. I know that's an issue that bigger YouTubers can run into from time to time. My channel's pretty small. I don't think I'd get noticed, but also at the same time, a lot of that stuff is now done via AI, and I guess it just wasn't triggering whatever flags were there. But that's also kind of an interesting thing, which I think shows kind of a difference in culture, because like to me this game was totally fine, but the nudity in the game, there were a couple, especially the larger female characters with their breasts on display, was something that in the US and Canada, and in particular I would say the US being where YouTube is based, and so they're going to be using US sensibilities, that sort of thing seems to be incredibly frowned upon. It's like this weird thing, like as somebody who's a fan of Japanese media, it's this distinction where in the US you have sort of an aversion to nudity, but you're totally okay with violence. And then in Japan it's the opposite, where in fact a lot of, if you want to be on television, that's why they'll have characters puking rainbows and stuff like that, because even vomit is like too far for the Japanese censors. But then obviously the fan service is sort of something that a lot of Japanese content is really known for, so it's just kind of an interesting difference there. And so this game being Spanish, I think the European audience is going to be more okay with nudity and less okay with violence than the more typical, I guess, US culture that you tend to see everything from. Like in terms of big video game releases. So just having a different flavor, having everything being based off of Spanish mythos, Spanish culture. I'm not sure if the characters in this game were references to some sort of Spanish mythology. I'm assuming the entire thing is, not Christian, but heavily Christian inspired. They did have their own holy symbol instead of the crucifix, for example. Which, as far as I know, that the symbol was new to Blasphemous and wasn't an actual Christian symbol. But then when it comes to a lot of the characters, it's, yeah. Were these Kickstarter backers? Is that what's going on right now? And the people who paid the top tier get to have their portrait done by the artists? Yeah, it's interesting. I am relatively new to the Kickstarter scene. I have actually backed a few games, a few metroidvanias. Rune Fencer Illyria, I think, is the latest one that I've backed, which looks quite promising, and I'm excited to see that come out. But something like this, I guess I was not sort of exposed to Kickstarter back when something like this was being... this game is like 4 or 5 years old, right? So, yeah. Yeah, but I think I got distracted and stopped something that I was going to say earlier, but as far as new franchises go, like a new game, a new IP, this is by far my favorite new IP that I've come across in years. And it kind of has that dark sort of horror aspect that you'd find in like the original Diablo game, which obviously had its graphical limitations and stuff given the era that that game came from. But like as somebody who's played the first 3 Diablos, every Diablo game seems to tone down and become safer to the point where like the 3rd Diablo, I would say, was just outright cartoony. It didn't have any of that horror feel to it at all. Like, yeah, you're fighting demons, but, you know, you're fighting cartoon demons and you're you know, you're kind of some sort of superhero who spouts Joss Whedon lines or whatever, right? Like, it's one of those things where as the franchise picked up in popularity, it also kind of left what I think made it stand out in the first place. So finding Blasphemous, it was like getting another taste of, you know, what that sort of theming and flavor could be for a video game. So that was very welcome. And to get back to the nudity thing too, I didn't find anything in this game to be like titillating at all. Everything was like, you see this a lot in old, you know, religious paintings or just older paintings in general, where you just have naked people. And that's, I think, part of the theming they go for here, and in particular when you have the idea of somebody who's suffering. And I think being naked is symbolic of being, no, you're before God. Everything can be seen, right? You're not able to hide who you really are or what you've really done. You know, God sees everything. And so it kind of has that sort of a, I think in a religious aspect, it kind of makes a lot of sense. But there was definitely, I didn't call it out at the time, but I did notice some of the male enemies in this game are also, you get full frontal nudity on those. So in the game, you know, there's just pretty even all around. And of course you got naked people being crucified or burned at the stake all across this entire game. And in fact, I stabbed a bunch of them for their tears. So I like to think that people in that particular situation, they were thanking me for ending it for them. And I guess that's another thing to try that. What was her name? That Lady of Suffering that we saw at the very beginning of this episode. Because there is the option of ending her, and I feel like that wouldn't really do anything, but I guess that's a thing to try on my next playthrough of this game. Or so maybe if I get that far in the Archipelago randomizer, when I end up doing that, I'll probably do another game in between, so I'm not just doing back-to-back Blasphemous. And this game's not even done yet. But I think I am convinced myself at this point, I will do the Archipelago thing at some point. And so when we get to that part of the run, I will try just killing her and seeing if it'll let me. Of course, in Archipelago, a lot of the time, it won't let you do something that'll lock you out of a check. So if there is a reward, like if we meet the older priest guy who is there, if we meet him back in the town and he gives us something, that would be a check, right? And they would take measures to prevent you from locking yourself out of an important check. An example of that from, just to give an example of how Stardew Valley, Archipelago has such a variety of games. It's not all just metroidvanias, because Stardew Valley is a game that's on Archipelago, and so you can do your farming simulator as well. And I have actually done that, where I beat a boss in Hollow Knight and I, you know, get a watering can upgrade or something like that. So yeah, Stardew Valley fits in. But one of the things that you can do in Stardew Valley is you get a pet, and the person who says, "No, I found this stray cat or dog, and you know, do you want to take this animal onto your farm?" And you can say no, and if you say no, you just don't get it. But in the Archipelago adaptation, you say no, and then the animal just shows up in your bedroom the next day anyway, because there are checks. You get 5 heart levels with your pet, which are 5 items. So yeah, a lot of these, unless the game is super, super short, they will make it so that you can't lock yourself out of something. And as an example of a game that would be super, super short would be DLC Quest, which is a very silly meme game from, I think, over 10 years ago. But you can... Part of the strategy of that game is to, like, the logic, the routing, is to quit and restart the game and then buy different DLC. So that you don't have to gather all of the money to get all of it at once on one playfile. At this point, I don't know if I need to... I'm kind of running out of things to talk about, which is why I'm kind of going on the archipelago tangent. Blasphemous. What was my favorite boss? My favorite boss in the game so far, out of the ones that I had, probably Tres Osgustas, or whatever it was, the Three Sisters. That is the scrolling pillar of fire, where you have to constantly... It was the boss of Grievance Ascends. And it's kind of making fun of the name of that zone, because the entire time you're actually descending, it feels like. But when you get to the boss, suddenly you see why the Ascend is in there. Because, yeah, the bottom of the screen is fire, you die if you touch it, so you're forced to constantly be climbing while dodging a triple boss fight. You have 3 enemies. One with a scepter, or like ceremonial mace, and 2 with, I guess, rods or javelins? Would those be pylons? Is that what a pylon is? Something like that. And yeah, they have their own attacks, and that was... I would say... I might say, like, that was the fight I struggled with the most. I think I beat it faster than the final boss, but I guess, you know, the final boss, I felt like I was learning a lot more, whereas with the Tres Gustas fight, I was struggling super hard until my final run when suddenly everything just clicked, and that felt amazing. But the fight itself was also just really good. So that was probably my favorite boss fight in the game. But all of them, like if you've watched me play the series from the start, you'll probably have noticed that with these boss fights, like I die, and then I get to a point where on the run where I beat them, I'm still at like 2/3 health with 2 out of 3 potions left. And so it's just like, it really is just a matter of learning the fights. And it's interesting that, yeah, it's just not something... Because like for me, with Metroidvanias, I really enjoy the process of exploring a world, and I like the movement in the games, like traversing, dealing with common enemies. In this game, man, every zone was a good variety of enemies, a good variety of gimmicks. I think Yondo was the first one that really stood out to me there, where the theme of the zone is bells. And they took this concept of bells, and they had traps, they had level architecture based around it, they had an enemy based around it, they had... Yeah, it's just really interesting. No boss in that zone, I don't think. Although you do exit the zone by ringing a giant bell. So I think that was the first zone of the game where I was truly impressed with what this game had to offer. Even before that I was enjoying it, but that was when it really started to fall into place for me. So yeah, Yondo, early game zone, possibly my favorite zone in the game, just, you know, by virtue of that. The Grievance Ascends boss was my favorite boss, which is actually just linked to Yondo. So I guess I really like the bottom left side of the map. The Convent of Our Lady of the Charred Visage was also really interesting. And again, they had... I guess it was also the Desecrated Cistern. Those were the 3 zones that had that sort of caster enemy, I guess I'd consider it, or like the screen-wide effect enemy. Where in Yondo, you have the priest rings the bell, and then the bells send out a shockwave that damages you if you're near them. So that, of course, fits in with the bell theming. In the convent of Our Lady of the Charred Visage, you had those nuns, I guess they were, who pull on the lever and then all the cauldrons of boiling oil will spill over. And then in the Desecrated Cistern, you had whatever those essentially necromancer enemies were that are summoning these exploding zombies. And the neat thing about those was you kill them, you kill the enemy, and suddenly the architectural or room gimmick that makes the room dangerous stops. So the enemy itself isn't much of a threat, but it's getting to the enemy that's a threat. And then once you've killed it, you've essentially shut off the room until you pray at a shrine. Prie Dieu shrine? And I keep pronouncing it as Dieu. That's me using an English accent, I guess. But again, I guess Spanish, I mean, it is a Romance language, so yeah, Dieu, Prie Dieu. I don't know, I feel like the French accent doesn't, like the French pronunciation doesn't quite sound right for what should be Spanish, I'm assuming, or Latin. Like French has a pretty strong sound to it. Well, I'm going to be stubborn because of the sunken cost fallacy. Not going to skip this. I assume anybody who is watching this has already skipped to whatever the timestamp is going to be at the end of this. But, yeah. Another thing that I liked was that you sort of had not exactly palette swap enemies, but you had enemies that you could tell they fit the same role. And in fact, because I did check the Blasphemous Archipelago settings at one point, there is an enemy randomizer, and one of the options for it is to have enemies within the same role be swapped. So that might be an interesting setting to play with and see how that goes. But yeah, the room-wide effect enemies were probably my favorite in terms of enemy design. And a lot of them, I think a lot of the issues that I was having playing through the games, and I don't mean issues as in I don't like the game, but issues as in I was struggling to play the game because I'm not good, was trying to figure out when to use which move. I feel like that wasn't really signposted particularly well. Which is fine, it's just a matter of experimenting with it. So which enemies can you dodge? Sometimes if you use your dodge slide move, you go through an enemy. Sometimes you hit the enemy and take damage. So you just kind of have to know which enemies are which. And likewise with the jump, the duck, the parry, there are certain situations where they work better and others where they don't. Parry was super consistent once I got the timing down, but getting the timing down was tricky, and that was another learning curve thing for sure, where a lot of these enemies that are parryable, there's a huge range in how much they will telegraph their attack before doing it. So it's not like you learn the parry mechanic and then you just execute it the same way against every single enemy in the game. That's not how it works. Instead, an enemy is doing an attack, and for some enemies, you have to anticipate that they're going to start the attack, and then you parry it. Do the parry right as they're starting the attack. Other enemies, they'll wind up, and then you wait for a second, and then they'll slowly do the attack, and then you parry. And in particular, I was finding those to be harder, because I was anticipating the attack coming, and then I would try to preempt it, and I would always be a little bit too fast. But if you get the timing wrong and you're, waiting to react to the attack actually being executed, you're going to be too slow. But I do think every single time, each enemy type was consistent within that particular enemy. So that's good. Which means it's learnable. It's not just random whether you got the parry or not. So parry, definitely learnable, but it's this is an interesting choice of instrumentation. I dig it. This is pretty good music. Definitely atmospheric. Yeah, the parry mechanic takes some getting used to, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing for me. Like doing a second playthrough is going to be so much easier just because I'm going to know whether this is a parry enemy, this is a dodge enemy, or this is a jump enemy. And especially for bosses, I think I'll probably still be experimenting a little bit with that because a lot of the early game bosses, especially, I felt like I was just spamming attacks and killing them before they killed me because I'd gotten ahead of the power curve early on. And I guess that's sort of a nature of this too, where you have a game where I was even doubting that this was a Metroidvania at first because the first 3 holy wounds that you get, those 3 zones, which was Grievance Ascends, the Convent of Our Lady of the Charred Visage, and Mother Dreams, I think. Those 3 zones had the 3 holy wounds, and all 3 of them are accessible with your default moveset. So there's no Metroidvania at all at that point. It's just an open world platformer experience where you can just go where you want to go and do whatever you want to do. I do feel like the Convent of Our Lady of the Charred Visage hit harder than the other zones. So there is that, I guess. Because I did the other zones first, and the Convent was the last of those 3 zones that I did. And I found it way harder in terms of the amount of damage that I was taking from enemies and from the cauldrons of boiling oil. Turns out having boiling oil dumped on you hurts. Who would have known? Are we just done with the music now? I feel like there's a little bit of hum in the background. Maybe I'm imagining that, or maybe that's like the heater or something in my room. But yeah, so those first 3 zones, you can kind of just go wherever without anything. And then as far as the relics go, because as far as movement goes, we found blood perpetuated in sand, which gave us the ability to step on the blood platforms. And we found the silvered lung of Delphus, I think that was the name, which made us immune to the miasma. That's what it's called, the toxic fumes in the game. And then there's the third one that we've had equipped. I don't remember. Is that the one that lets us talk to the corpses and get hints from them? Hints or lore? I think that might be what the third relic was. But I did notice there was a lot of space on that screen for more stuff. Maybe that's DLC, maybe that's post-game. Maybe that's just how they made the UI look nice and they didn't want to spoil the fact that there are only 3 relics in the game. Could be any of those. There is also an additional play mode. So this was the pilgrimage mode that we just did. And also we could be ending B, so obviously there's an ending A. And I happen to know there's also an ending C because that was an option for the archipelago as far as setting what the goal for winning the game is. Again, I don't know how to get A or C, but I did notice that there was an option for any ending, and then there was an option for ending A or C. So I guess to put that in Hollow Knight terms, it would be, defeating the Hollow Knight just requires the 3 dreamers, but defeating getting either of the other 2 endings from the base game also requires the Void Heart, which is 3 items, and then I guess you need the Dream Nail to get the dreamers as well. You don't in Rando, so like I've played so much Rando now that it's like, yeah, you just need 3 items to beat the game. Or You need like 8 items if you're doing Radiance Ending. So maybe it's like that. Okay, we got another cutscene. That is the Mea Culpa, which I guess was left in the ash. So, yeah, as far as the ending, I guess I could have talked about the ending here, what happened to us. We just kind of walked into the Mountain of Ash, and new aspect available, True Apostasy. Okay. Yeah, so we just kind of walked into the Mountain of Ash, and I guess got suffocated by it, and then... Yeah, at the very beginning of the game, you wake up in a pile of corpses that all look like you. It's, again, a bunch of naked people except for wearing your helmet. So you are, I guess, just one in a line of penitents. And even as far as the lore of the game goes, every time we die, maybe we do actually die. And then it's a different penitent that's coming to take our place. I could believe that. That seems appropriate for something like this. Right. So Sacred Sorrows. I don't know what this is. I'm assuming this is a DLC play mode, but I don't know. But I guess from here, this has gone on long enough, so I'm not going to check anything else right now. So we'll go Pilgrimage and see if there's any post-game stuff, or see what True Apostasy is, or load our previous save and then go and do more stuff on the map. Probably not all of those, but some of those next time. I will see you then.